Today, we're tackling a big topic, personal debt. Whether it's credit cards, student loans, or auto loans, debt can feel like a never-ending weight. But don't worry, because I've got a game plan for you. That's right, we'll dive into a 6-step process to help you get out of debt fast. Now, to be clear, getting out of debt can be challenging. But if you follow the 6 steps that we'll go over shortly, you could be waving goodbye to your debt quicker than you probably ever thought. If you're ready to get serious about eliminating your debt, then you're in the right place. Before we get into the steps, I do want to share some numbers with you to see that you're not alone in the struggle with debt and trying to get out of it. Will this process be easy? No, but with some guidance and discipline, you can get rid of your non-mortgage related debt faster than you ever expected. In regards to those debt-related numbers, here they are. The average American currently has over $6,500 in credit card debt. Those with student loans have almost $29,000 in student loan debt. And finally, the average American owes almost $24,000 in auto loans. As you can see, you're not the only one struggling with debt. So let's dig into those steps so we can start the process of getting you out of debt as quickly as possible. Step number 1, list all current debt. To be able to attack your current debt, the first step is making a list of what all those debts are outside of your mortgage if you have one. For this list, you'll need the name of the company you owe money to, the remaining balance, the interest rate on the account, and the minimum payment each month. And that's pretty much it for step number 1. Step number 2, track all spending and income over the next 30 days. To be able to determine the best way to attack your debt, you also need to know what you're spending in a month and what your income is in that month. This will help to point out if you have more money coming in than was going out and spending. If you're spending more than you have coming in each month, we'll dig into ways to try to resolve that issue in the next few steps. The bottom line is, if you're spending more than what's coming in each month, it makes it almost impossible to focus on a debt payoff strategy. Now, in regards to how to track your spending and income, there are a lot of options out there, but we won't have the time in this video to review all of those, but it's definitely on my list of topics to cover in the near future. For this video, I'll recommend a free tool and one paid tool, and I have a link to each one of these options in the video description. The free tool is called Empower and used to be named Personal Capital. It has spending and budgeting capabilities, although I personally feel like budgeting in the tool is limited and clunky. But hey, it's free. It does a much better job of showing your spending and grouping those transactions, although you'll likely have to modify what categories it detects for certain expenses. Where Empower is more powerful, get it? Empower, powerful, is in its ability to also track your investments and net worth, which can be very useful. But for this focus, we really just are looking at a spending and budgeting tool. As far as a paid option for tracking spending and budgeting, I would recommend You Need a Budget, or better known as YNAB. If you really want to take your budgeting seriously, this is a great tool that I've used for 10 years, and it's had a significant impact on my financial success over those years. It does cost $14.99 per month or $99 per year, which does save you about $80 if you pay all at once. They also offer a 34-day free trial to see if it's something you would want to use. The link I'll have in the description for YNAB will also give you a free month if you sign up through that link. The whole point of step 2 is to know where your money is going. And from that, you can better figure out a plan to pay down your debt. Step number 3, make a list of your needed expenses and those nice to have expenses. These 2 lists are pretty simple. Your need list would be groceries, your rent or mortgage, insurance, etc. Whatever is absolutely essential for you to live on. The nice to have list is everything else. Eating out or getting that yummy mocha frappe from Starbucks would all be on the nice to have list. Anything that isn't needed for you to live and support your family would be on your nice to have list. Step number 4, eliminate purchases from your nice to have list. This is probably the hardest step, but likely the most important. It's going to take discipline and some sacrifice from what you're accustomed to. Instead of getting that iced or frozen coffee from Starbucks, so good, learn how to make something similar at home. There are a lot of great videos on YouTube that show you how to do that. And coffee is just one item that many can cut back on, and it's not a trivial amount of money in many cases. Just assume someone buys a $5 coffee 5 days per week. That's $100 a month paying for coffee, and you can probably spend $20 to $30 to do something very similar. There's $70 to $80 saved per month right there. The same principle applies to eating out, which can be an even bigger savings each month. The bottom line is you need to find a way to reduce your spending so that you can apply that extra money you're not spending towards your debt so you can pay it off faster. Step number 5, figure out the extra amount you can pay each month towards your debt. 2 points to make here. Well, maybe 2.5. If you do have a positive amount after your first month tracking your spending and income, you would want to put that extra towards whichever debt you're going to focus on first. We'll go over the different strategies that can be used to pay off debt in the last step. The half of a point I'll make here is that I'm also a big proponent of having an emergency fund available for those unexpected items that happen, like a flat tire, or you need a new insert your choice of item here that just stops working or breaks. So if you don't have an emergency fund set aside, I'd recommend putting half of that extra money available from the previous month towards that, and then use the other half for the extra payment towards debt. Then when you get to a point where you feel like your emergency fund is at a good point, you can take all of that payment and then put it towards your debt payment. The final point I'll make in this section is if you're still spending more than you're bringing in, even after you stopped buying the nice to have items on your list, then the only other alternative is to bring in more income. And I know it's not easy as just saying make more money, but it may require you to get an additional part-time job, start a side hustle, or even see what it would take to get a raise with your existing job. You could also consider selling things that you may not need anymore on places like Facebook Marketplace to generate some additional income. The pain you'll endure during this short period to get your debts paid off will be so worth it in the long run. And finally, our last step number 6, pick a debt payoff strategy. There are 3 different strategies we'll go over on ways you can pay off your debt. And the first one I'll go over is the Snowball Method. This method is the most popular of the 3 and was made famous by Dave Ramsey. The Snowball Method has you pay off your debts in the order of smallest balance to largest. The thought behind this is that you'll be encouraged to see debts get paid off, and there's likely some psychological factor with this in that we all like to complete achievement, and that's rewarded by attacking the smallest balance first. For example, with the Snowball Method, if we had the following debt: credit card number 1 with a $2,000 balance, a 19% interest rate, and a $60 minimum payment per month. Credit card number 2 with a $5,000 balance and a 29% interest rate and a $150 minimum payment per month. An auto loan with a $20,000 balance at a 10% interest rate with a $415 minimum payment per month. And finally, a student loan with a $30,000 balance with a 7% interest rate and a minimum payment of $270 per month. In this example, we would first focus on paying off credit card number 1 since it has the smallest balance. Once that was paid off, we would then work to pay off credit card number 2, then the auto loan, and finally the student loan. And with this strategy and the next strategy, once you pay off a debt, then you take that money you were using for the previous debt and add it to the existing payment you are already making to the next debt. For example, try to clear it up for you. We're going to walk through what this process would look like with the Snowball strategy using a free calculator from Vertex. I'll include a link in the description to Vertex, and it offers an Excel or Google Sheets version. So for this example, we'll say we have $200 extra each month to apply towards our debt payoff. And since we're following the Snowball strategy, we'll be focusing on paying off credit card number 1 first. When we take the minimum payment of $60 for credit card number 1 and add the extra $200, we have $260 being paid towards credit card number 1 each month. And we'll continue to pay the minimum amount each month on the other loans we have until the first credit card is paid off. So paying $260 per month on credit card number 1 would mean it would be paid off in 9 months. And for comparison, if you paid just the minimum payment on credit card number 1, which was $60, it would take you 4 years to pay it off and cost you $866 in interest. While the Snowball Method, you would only pay $150 in interest. Now that we have credit card number 1 paid off, we would move on to the lowest remaining balance, and that would be credit card number 2. And we would take that $260 we were paying on credit card number 1 and add that to the minimum payment of credit card number 2, which is $150. So we would now be paying $410 on credit card number 2 per month until it was paid off. Now, I could step you through the rest of this as we move on from credit card 2 and then the auto loan and finally the student loan, but I think you probably understand the process at this point. Our next pay down strategy is called the Avalanche Method. This method has you focus on paying off your debts in order of highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. So in our example of debts we showed earlier, the Avalanche Method would focus first on credit card number 2, since it has the highest interest rate, and then it would move on to credit card number 1 with the second highest interest rate, followed by the auto loan and the student loan last. The Avalanche Method will almost always get your debt paid off quicker and in return save you money and interest. But if the two methods are relatively close in regards of when you'll pay off all the debt, then the Snowball Method may make the most sense because there's definitely some value in seeing those accounts being paid off quicker. In regards to the example debt we used in this scenario, both methods would take the same amount of time to pay off all the debt with an estimate of December 2029 if we had started in July of 2024. But the Avalanche Method would save you a little over $350 in interest while paying off these debts. Now, I did mention a third debt payoff strategy or method, and that would be getting a debt consolidation loan. Going with a debt consolidation loan only makes sense if the rate you can get for the loan is lower than your average interest rate across your existing debts. The average rate of a consolidation loan is a little hard to find, but they can range from as low as 9% all the way up to an insane 36%. If you only have credit card debt with high interest rates, then a consolidation loan may allow you to pay off your debts faster than the Snowball or Avalanche methods. But if you can't get a consolidation loan with a rate lower than your existing average debt rate, then it won't be a better choice than the other two methods. You can go to calculator.me and use their average APR calculator to find out what your average debt interest rate is. I'll include a link in the description to this site as well, so you can take a look at that. Well, that's it for this video. We reviewed 6 steps that could help you get out of debt much faster than you're likely working towards now. A quick recap of the 6 steps are: step number 1, list all your current debt. Step number 2, track all spending and income over the next 30 days. Step number 3, make a list of your needed expenses and nice to haves. Step number 4, eliminate or stop purchasing the items on the nice to have list. Step number 5, figure out the extra you can pay each month towards your debt. And step number 6, pick a debt payoff strategy. As always, thanks for watching and hang around to the end. Let me know in the comments any questions or feedback you have on anything we covered in this video. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you know when I put out new content focused on your money and how to manage it best with a little bit of comedy thrown in for good measure. See you next time.